Hello, it's great to have all of you back for episode 43 of Women of the Future. In this series, we are looking at a variety of topics that are of interest to women and how women can use tools within spirituality to ameliorate the quality of their lives. Sister Denise is with us in the studio, and today we will be taking up the subject of professional challenges. Sister Denise, a very warm welcome.
Thank you.
Professional challenges. It is very obvious that you are dressed in a white sari, and so you present as a yogi, but there was a point in time where you were employed, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely there was, and actually even within the context of dedicated spiritual life, I do consider myself a professional Brahma kumari.
Okay, that's good. I just wanted our viewers to know that you're coming from a perspective of experience and not just theory. I think that is important.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, okay. Okay, so using that as a point of departure, let us look at what professional challenges mean. We have viewers watching you right now who face an enormous amount of professional challenges, some of them actually career-threatening. We find ourselves in a position where we can't actually do anything about it, and it's terrible to have this feeling of helplessness.
You know, one thing that I think is interesting is here we are, we're looking at the future, a woman of the future, women in the future. What does the future professional arena look like? Because I think we have to move towards it. One thing is really addressing the problems that we face, but it's also very proactive to visualize, envision, and sort of establish as this is what we're going for, because it can also become a reality. A professional woman has to have certain things that a man doesn't need, like maternity leave, like parking close to the entry if she's pregnant, like a lift, like just certain things that make her life easier. And I think that we have to think of these as rights. You know, these and these are requirements. A professional woman means, first of all, she's an educated woman. She has acquired skills, developed skills, but she also has a life. And in the traditional views, she's sort of encroaching in the male area when she gets into the professions. But I think probably since the Second World War, because there were so many men killed, it gave an opportunity for women to step into places and to discover that they're very, very capable and competent. And somewhere in there, all of a sudden, a woman doesn't have the parity that she should have, could have. So this is a big challenge. And it's not a new challenge, because the professional arena, you have professional relationships. You have to be with people all day long, maybe more time with your colleagues than with your family members. And so some of these archaic attitudes come in, and especially the equal pay for equal work issue comes up a lot.
How a woman would deal with such a scenario in her workplace. The one scenario that comes to mind that happens to far too many women is that of sexual harassment.
Yeah, you know, it has to be talked about, and it has to be established. You know, in the old way, your secretary to the boss was probably a motherly type person who gets on and gets things done. There's no sexual harassment involved in that little scene. The world we live in today tells women you have to be sexually attractive. And there are even messages which say it's really nice if you get a trophy husband who is the boss, so try to attract. And then that creates a message, well, if one person is doing that, then all the young girls are doing that, which is an assumption, a presumption. But sexual harassment in the workplace is a big thing. And sexual harassment in the public transport to get to the workplace is another big thing. And I think that the debate about sexual harassment has been coming up because there's been some horrific gang rapings that have been going on. The problem is we're very materialistic, we're very into looks, we're very into attracting each other. There's a sort of counter currents going on in the culture, because some women will say, get interested in me physically, and others will say, don't go near me physically. So we have to really talk about it. There has to be a forum for it, and it has to be made very clear, okay, this is me, this is my position, And in some corporate cultures, it is very clearly stated that you do not mix work and personal relationships, and that's very healthy, But to change human nature, I don't know how you're going to do that,
yes.
other than by your extreme spiritual potency, and that's, of course, very rare.
The other scenario that I'd like to ask you about is a very large number of women feel that they have to prove themselves at work by virtue of the fact that they're female. How does one do that by asserting oneself without coming across as aggressive, crass, and destroying your professional relationships with your other colleagues?
Well, I mean, a lot of women feel and say that they have to be 10 times better than their counterpart in order to be considered equal. That's just how it is at the moment. And many women will dress in a masculine way to assert their parity that is there. Many women will adopt more masculine ways of talking and things like that to assert their right to be there in the same arena. And any time a woman enters into an area that is considered as the preserve of men, she will have to be better than, much, much better than. But I think that this has been going on for a long time, and that now there are companies which are so aware of this, and I think maybe some of the younger generation people, they don't think about it in quite the same way as the older generation had. So I think overall it can be better.
Sister Denise, you speak about spirituality a lot, and there are many listening to you who practice some sort of either religion or follow some spiritual path or anything that makes them feel empowered. But as far as one's profession is concerned, one leaves one's religion at home when you come to work. And by that I mean, not that you leave behind your principles, but you don't advertise what you do at work. It's just not done. But you are speaking of using your spirituality at work from within. How do you do that without coming across as a prude?
Well, I suppose it is a reality that if you say by your vibration, not by anything else, just by your vibration, this is what I am, this is how I am, it's going to be provocative. And in the professional arena, people will try and break it. I remember in when I used to work in the BBC and the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, people used to leave a bottle of wine on my desk every morning. Very nice. And a packet of cigarettes and an invitation, you know, out and all of this. So, you know, they just, I think, couldn't believe that it's possible for a person to give importance to the spiritual aspect of their life when they're physically attractive, marriageable, whatever, you see, because there's this, you know, this storyline that goes on in people's mind that you can't do that, that's not possible, don't do it, you know, here, have this. So all sorts of temptations and so on will be there. And that's normal, you know. When you're in a spiritual lifestyle, at least what I'm in, you know, there are many physical principles that you do adopt, like vegetarianism, like celibacy, and so on. And so you're making a statement, verbally or non-verbally, that I'm not the same as the woman that you are mostly surrounded with. And so that's that, you know. But as you get into your later years, and you pursue your professional inclinations, you see, you are gaining experience, you are going higher in the ladder, you are gaining expertise and so on. And so if you have a great deal of spiritual energy that's constantly being accumulated, you are going to really excel. And people are going to really like it on one hand, and maybe they'll be a bit afraid of it on another hand.
When you say excel at what?
Excel at anything you put your hand to. So that if you are going to put your hand to media or to law or to medicine or any of that, you're going to bring a dimension of skill that is most unusual, which is a product of your, and part and parcel of your spiritual potency.
It's wonderful to know, because one does not actually think of using spirituality to that extent. Sister Denise, in a previous series, I heard you mention the word compartmentalization. Am I pronouncing it right? I hope so. Now, why is it that some believe that they cannot be a whole person wherever they are? Why is it that we feel that there are certain aspects of our lives that we should hide from others? It's not embarrassment, it's just what people have become.
Well, I think you have rights, and you know, when you come into the professional arena or any other arena, you will show an angle on yourself. Who says you have to show the whole thing? Your spirituality, you can decide, that's my private affair, I don't discuss it. If you can feel it, that's great, but I'm not going to discuss it if I don't feel like discussing it or if I don't think it's relevant. You know, there's many parts of a person, and you perform according to the circumstances. And you know, how you are as a family person, that's also private, you know. How you are as an artist, that's also private. In many parts.
I would now like to talk about feelings, because women seem to have full dominion over that aspect of functioning. Not necessarily have it, but it does appear that way. When at work, when professional challenges arise, whether you have to prove yourself, whether you're treated differently because you're female, a woman has to deal with a lot of her own insecurities that pop up. So how does one deal with that using the tools that you just mentioned?
I think that, you know, when you develop yourself spiritually, one of the things that you'll be able to do is manage your feelings. So if you're in a professional arena where things become very brutal, they can, you need to be up for it. Because otherwise you can be sort of taken down just because in that arena it is known that, well, we can get this person by hurting her feelings. But if you make yourself very internally powerful and you're not carrying around insecurities, you make it clear for yourself that you are secure, because if not, well, you can't go further forward. So spiritual practice really helps you to get that all taken care of.
Okay. Sister Denise, there are women watching you right now who are miserably unhappy at their jobs, at their chosen vocation. They're unhappy with their income, they're unhappy with their working environment. It could be toxic. How does one approach this? Do you change your environment, or do you change your attitude towards your environment, towards your colleagues, towards everything? Where does the shift need to occur?
Well, I mean, I think a person would only be unhappy in a situation if she felt that she doesn't have any option, because the first thing to do if you're not happy is either you change it or you go.
Sometimes it's not practical to just go because of finances.
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. There may be restrictions. And so then you have to come to terms with it. You have to really look at yourself and see if there's anything you can do about your own self which can, you know, modify the situation at least. Sometimes you may need to be very assertive. You have to command respect. And when you're internally more powerful, it's a whole lot easier, you know.
Okay, I'd like you to take us through that more in detail, because we know the expression to command respect as opposed to demanding respect. But what does this mean to somebody who is spiritually empowered?
This thing of commanding is very important. If you're suffering, you see, is weakening you. If you're having the power of endurance, it's not weakening you.
The situation's not weakening you. The person's not weakening you.
Yeah, and you also have to have in your mind what you want. You know, it's all very well, I don't like this, I don't like that, I don't want this. Okay, but what do you want? You've got to make it clear and go for it. Demand it, command it, get it. You can. Willpower.
Sister Denise, is ambition a vice?
I think that a lot of people will accuse you. I've often been accused of being ambitious, you know, and I think the word is defined in different ways by different people, you know. But I think that if you have capacities and you don't develop them, that's a great shame, you know.
What do you mean by the word capacities?
Well, you have the potential for things, you have skills. If you don't develop them, if you don't turn them into something that's really good accomplishments and achievements because somebody accuses you of being ambitious, so you sort of, you know, push yourself down, that's a waste of you, that's a waste of your life. But I think that people do this to each other in order to go ahead themselves and prevent competition. You know, that's just a human vice. You know, that's a vice more than ambition. But ambition is that you see what's possible for you and you go for what you want. There's nothing wrong with that, you see. But in the sort of messages that you will get, women are very often receiving this message that ambition is a vice in women and a virtue in men.
Yes, I find that very odd. Yes, and they buy it. It's sold to them and they buy it. Yeah.
So basically I think what we're saying on this program is women of the future wouldn't do that.
I suppose the question that I'm asking you is one of situational ethics. Does the end ever justify the means? And I want to give this as a practical example to the viewer. You have to achieve something at work, but to do that you employ dishonest practices. My question to Sister Denise is that ever okay? Is it ever okay to stab somebody in the back or in the front to look good in management's eyes?
Well, your whole question provides you with the answer, doesn't it? Well, this is the thing. You have to decide who you are. Are you a principled person? Are you a greedy person? I mean, what's important for you? There, in the professional arena, in many professional arenas, it's based in materialistic values. And so the values of materialism are get as much money, as much prestige, as much power as you possibly can at any cost. And so in that case, principles don't have any part in it. And so then you say, okay, I'm somebody like that. So then, okay, have a good time. But when you violate the laws of karma, it'll catch up with you. So whether it's okay or not is one thing, but what I'm saying is you can't get away with it. So the laws of karma are, if you act according to the original qualities of the soul, purity, peace, power, love, bliss, etc., and you say, okay, I'm a materialist, I'm going to be a big banker or stockbroker, whatever it is, I'm in it for the money. I'm a materialist, I'm operating by material values, I want all the money, all the power, all the prestige, all the luxury items, and all of the whatever it is that materialism brings, and I really don't care about the rest. As time goes by, you will find that the rest will come, you know, and the consequences of your actions will come up, and you will pay for it. So either you like that idea or you don't like that idea. But I think having the awareness of spirituality means that you're going to have to look at the value of materialism and calculate in the long term, is that what you really want? Spirituality is relevant, valid, and important because it says, you know, the attitude of live now, pay later, well, you're going to pay pretty heavily. And it's not a very usable attitude, very short-sighted.
The professional woman needs to maintain her honor in her professional environment, doesn't she?
Definitely.
That is the essence of today's message.
Yeah. When a professional woman presents herself professionally in her full dignity and dresses in such a way that it commands, you know, it's a full message. This is me, this is what I do, this is what I expect, etc., etc. It should be all right. You know, but if a woman starts to sort of be weak in her spiritual energy, then somebody will start playing around with her, and she will kind of get trapped in a sort of attitude which says, look there, you see, you're just a woman, you're just, you know, interested in being sexually attractive, so I'm going to give it to you, you know. That kind of thing happens if she doesn't maintain her honor and dignity.
You say that the way she dresses is important because it sends a message.
It sends a message.
What else is important, Sister Denise, in terms of what is the word that was used in bygone era? Deportment. Is all of that important?
Yeah, deportment, how you talk on the phone, how much time you talk to people. If somebody starts to change the nature of the conversation and make it a little too intimate, you know how to cut it so that your message is consistent at all times from the morning till the evening. And if you should find you want to develop a friendship with a colleague at work, you make sure that it is totally outside work and none of the business of anybody who's in work. Otherwise it gets interfered with.
Thank you for whatever you shared today. Very deep, Sister Denise, and very meaningful. You've shared things that we know, but we don't necessarily articulate it to ourselves, and such things are not necessarily spoken about. And it is unfortunate that when women enter into the professional environment, no one advises them as to what the pitfalls are. And this program is just that. So I thank you on behalf of all professional women watching you.
Thank you.
So there you go, professional women, what it means to be a professional woman, and what it means to employ spiritual skills and spiritual principles within your working environment. A very powerful message. And what I like about it is that Sister Denise shared things and advice that is quite realistic and practical. And by that I mean, do you pay attention to how you dress, how you walk, the nature of your conversations, what messages you send to your female as well as your male colleagues? All of this is very important. And she also shared skills that one can use when dealing with more serious issues like having to prove yourself and things like sexual harassment. So I really liked the content of today's show, and I hope you enjoyed it too. And I do trust that we will meet again. Take care, and I hope to see all of you again soon. Goodbye.